If you are a woman in your 40s and you've been feeling a little backed up in the digestive department, then this video could explain why that is. Hormonal constipation is a thing. Hormones, as they're shifting and changing in our 40s, can impact our digestion quite a bit. You might have experienced this for yourself. And so this video will explain why that is and then what we can do to get things moving again. So stay tuned. This is a video that I was doing with one of my coaching clients. I coach women in their 40s in health and fitness. And this is a video that I thought would be really helpful for all women in their 40s and beyond to get to understand so we can know our bodies a little bit more. So if you are experiencing something up in the digestive system, then this is for you. Of course I had to put a picture of poop here. How could I not do that? So yeah, we're just gonna have a look at hormonal constipation in this menopause transition phase. What we're going to discuss is hormonal constipation, why it's important, and what to consider during menopause and perimenopause, and then how to regulate bowel motility, so that continual natural movement of our contents of our bowels with food and with supplements. So just to kind of have a little peek on what constipation actually is. So I know often we just think it's when we just don't go, like when we're just not going. So anything fewer than 3 bowel movements a week is considered constipation. If the stools are extremely hard, dry, or lumpy, even if you are going daily, that's considered constipation. If they're difficult or painful to pass, or if there's a feeling or that sensation like it's not all gone, like if this is incomplete and I'm not satisfied, that's another good indicator that constipation is an issue as well. So on this Bristol stool chart over on the right, the top 2 types are considered constipation. The types 3, 4, and 5 are considered ideal for whatever form of, if it looks like 3, 4, or 5, or feels like one of those, then it's ideal, it's good. And then if it's on the 6 or 7 end, then we're in the overactive, which is diarrhea, which potentially means that you're not getting enough nutrients or water taken out of it during the large intestine section. So hormonal constipation is extremely common in perimenopause and menopause as hormones fluctuate, and there's 4 potential reasons for this, and it could be 1, 2, 3, or all 4 for any woman at any given time during this potential constipation challenge. So because the estrogen levels are shifting, and estrogen helps to regulate cortisol, as the estrogen levels decrease, cortisol can increase, which we have learned already. And after 40, we tend to have a lot more going on, with kids, with life, with work, with aging parents, with all these things that we potentially could be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Cortisol levels can be high, which we have learned. And when estrogen is decreasing, the cortisol is not being balanced by it. And cortisol, one of its jobs is to impact the digestion process. So it can do one of 2 things. It can either speed it up, which results in the type 6 and 7, that more diarrhea type, or it can slow it right down. So lower estrogen impacts cortisol, which potentially could result in constipation. Progesterone levels, we know those are going to decrease over time as well. And progesterone influences water absorption in our gastrointestinal tract. So there could be a dehydration issue. With this decreased progesterone, it can create harder stools, which then are more difficult to pass and then tend to stay in the digestive tract instead of being eliminated. Low muscle tone. So we had a look in the fitness section on the pelvic floor. And if we can kind of put a visual in our mind that pelvic floor is a ridge of muscles that runs all along the base. So from front to back. So it affects our urine output, our uterus, as well as our anus. So if there's low muscle tone, which can be due to lower estrogen, then it's also difficult to pass a stool fully because the muscle isn't there. And then the last possible reason is an underactive thyroid. Thyroid hormones also help to regulate intestinal contractions, which helps to move along the contents in the tract. And so why does it actually matter for hormone balance? It's so important to be pooping every day, 1 or 2 times even. Optimally, I think I've not heard of anybody doing this, but they say you're supposed to poop every time after you eat. I have never heard of a person that is able to do that, but they say that's the most ideal situation. Once a day for sure though. And if we're not actually eliminating, then we're reabsorbing the toxins and the excess hormones into the body. So we've talked about how the liver's role is one of its jobs is to get the toxins ready to be eliminated. And that's very important. But if the liver's done its job, eliminates the toxins into the bowel, but then the bowel's not actually able to fully release them, we're not into the body anymore, then we're going to potentially reabsorb them again. So if we don't have optimal digestive regularity, we won't get the full benefit of all of the nutrition approaches that we're taking. So the liver is step number 1, but then we need to make sure that we get that full motility through the entire digestive tract so that it completely get all those excess hormones and toxins get completely out of the body. And it all starts in the gut. So firstly, if there is a constipation issue, first things first is to get things moving. So some supplement idea to get things moving right off the bat are psyllium husks, flax seeds, and aloe vera, and those will help to actually soften the stool. And then Senna cascara sagrada and magnesium citrate, which is the magnesium we were talking about earlier, is a short-term laxative. So once the stool is softened up with the supplement ideas from the first part, then these last 3 will actually create that full elimination. And that's if there is a constipation issue. If there isn't, then we'll go straight to step number 2 and just continue with the fiber and the water to make sure that things are passing as they should be each day. So fiber comes in 2 different forms. There's a soluble form and an insoluble form. And we want a total of 28 to 40 grams of fiber each day. And because fiber isn't absorbed by the body, it just moves through you, we do need to have fiber for every meal, so that we know that we're getting that full motility through the digestive tract. So soluble fiber dissolves and it creates a gel. And so that gel then attracts water to form that solid stool that it makes it also then easier to pass through the digestive tract and out. So some sources of soluble fiber are oat bran, barley, nuts, seeds, beans, lentils, and peas. And then there's insoluble fiber, and that essentially is our vegetables. So it's not dissolved in water, but it does add some bulk to the stool, creates a better form, and then is easier to fully eliminate instead of either stopping like constipation or like the diarrhea. So good forms of insoluble fiber are wheat bran, vegetables, and whole grains. And then of course, to help everything move along, we got to have that water, and I think we're all doing pretty good in the water department. So that is fantastic. We need for the fiber and the water work together to help fully move through the digestive tract. And some other suggestions are a squatty potty or a very low sitting toilet. One of my toilets in my house is really low sitting and it's quite handy. Exercise helps to get things moving. I don't know if you've ever noticed in your life, but when you go for a walk or when you go through exercise and maybe you haven't had your poop for the day, you're like, oh, well, here we are. Here we go. If the pelvic floor is the issue, and that is part of the problem for the actual elimination, then a pelvic floor physiotherapist could help with that. And good sleep. So much happens while we're sleeping, including a deep cleanse of our body. So while we're sleeping and dreaming and whatever we're doing, our body is doing all sorts of things. And one of those things is clearing out from the cells. It's getting all of the junk and the gunk out of our cells and into the digestive tract, so that it can be eliminated. And yeah, so that just happens while we're sleeping. So we've probably each all experienced constipation at some point or another, and we know it's extremely uncomfortable physically. So one of the reasons we want to help with this motility is obviously for physical comfort, but also it helps get our hormones and the ingested toxins from our environment evacuated from the body, which impacts all of our well-being overall, and even our mood, our brain function, our general feelings of well-being. So who knew poop was so important? But it really is. It's not something that we talk about once we're past maybe like 7 years old. We don't tend to talk about it. But yeah, super important to get things moving and continue to get things moving. So I will stop the share because that's all the things. It was a quick one, but one that I think was valid to talk about. And I'll put this recording in the portal. So if you needed to have a look at any of those supplements again, then that will be in